Alright, so I'm working on the Esprit, and we just got the interior fan working. It was a little gummed up. All we had to do was pull the housing, rotate the fan a few times, replace the fuse, hit the button. But occasionally you get reminders that this car was underwater, such as this. Today's adventure is going to start with the hood. Notice I've got a microfiber towel propped underneath the hood so it doesn't scratch the headlight. That's because half of the hood hinge is actually disconnected. And Lotus being Lotus, they tended to double up on hardware wherever they could to save weight. So for example, this headlight bolt here, which is the hinge for the headlight bucket, is also the hinge pin that goes to the hood. So it's all very difficult to get to, but hopefully we'll be able to line up the bolt, which is actually missing on the other side, and we'll fix our headlight hinge and our hood at the same time. Now, you might have noticed that I'm using a pry bar to prop up my hood right now. That's not only because of the missing hood hinge bolt, but also the factory hydraulic prop rod on this car has been ripped out of the hood. So we found some of the pieces in the front trunk when we disassembled it yesterday and removed the spare tire. It looks like we'll need to fabricate that right angle bracket that holds the pivot ball that bolts to that, and I was able to order new jack nuts off of Amazon for a very reasonable price. The hinge for both the headlight and the hood are back on. The secret to my success eventually was a small makeup mirror that I borrowed from my wife. We have manually disconnected the arm from the headlight motor so that we can force the headlight door up and actually force it a little further beyond its normal extension. The reason we do this, and it's not just because this is a flood car, this happens on all Lotuses. If you look down in there, there is a small puddle of water. Now there is a drain in the bottom of this that gets clogged up with debris and dirt and such, and these don't drain. This is my third Lotus Esprit, and every single one of them has had the headlight sitting in a rusty bath. And what that does is destroys the headlight mounting hardware, which you can see a little bit of rust on the bottom of each headlight. So this is extremely common. Sometimes I get them and the headlight bulbs are actually full of water. So get yourself a small drill bit or a small piece of wire, a pair of gloves, and if you're in your garage like I am, a drain pan, so that you can clear out this little hole and clean out this area so it will drain for years to come. Alright, I've got my arm all the way down in here. I think I've managed to locate the drain hole. I hope that is a video of water hitting a drain pan. Time to do the same headlight cleaning trick to the other side. A little trickier to get around because this car does have ABS, but you can see the little 10mm nut right there at the end of the arm that you have to remove. Once you remove that, it's got a ball joint, so it'll pry. It takes a little bit of effort once you pry it off of the 10mm stud there. Okay, that took a lot of effort to get that little nylock nut off, but now I'm going to remove this push rod. And that one came off a lot easier than the other side. Now that that is removed, reach your arm into the trunk, grab the push rod that you just disconnected from the motor, push it forward, use your other free hand, which I don't have right now, reach forward and grab the headlight. Okay, once you get a finger grip on the headlight, give it a gentle lift, and voila. Now, what I like to do is stuff a microfiber towel between the fairing and the body to hold it up a little higher and also to prevent any damage. Well, we've been greeted with some very good news. This bucket actually has its drains intact, and there's no standing water to speak of in here. We've gone ahead and picked up any pieces of debris that might clog the drain in the future. One interesting thing we did notice is we found some factory markings here that are done at the factory after these front ends are molded. I don't actually know what it stands for, but it's always cool to find. I went and got my old gauge cluster. We're actually going to replace this. We found out several of the gauges were not repairable, so we have a different cluster on the way. But I went and got this one because it's still got lots of working parts on it, including the headlamp switches. Now, up to this point, I've not actually taken inventory as far as what works. So this is the parking light switch. Looks like we've got rear parking lights, rear tail lights, front turn signal parking light, front lower's working, other front's working, also working. This is great news. We also have a rear trunk dome light. I don't believe my 89 and 90 cars have that feature. Okay, well, let's see what we have working as far as headlights. This motor on the driver's side in the US is disconnected. The motor on the passenger side is actually connected again. Let's see what we get. Okay, well that's not the best news. We appear to have working headlights. They just don't go up or down currently. I managed to manually raise the passenger side headlight. The driver's side headlight still has its push rod disconnected, so it's kind of hanging out wherever it wants to. But we've actually got working high beam and low beam. We're going to press our luck and see if we've got fog lights now. Well, it looks like we've got one working fog light.